Hey everybody, it is Thursday, so I am back around again. I know sometimes it's Thursday and sometimes it's Friday, but my life has been kind of upside down with swim, and that's not a new thing. So that's just the way it is for me. So sometimes it's Thursday, sometimes it's Friday, but this is kind of how I've been checking in with you guys on Facebook Live and then posting it over on Instagram and sometimes uploading it to YouTube. So being here and listening. So I wanted to share with you guys today a couple of things. Mostly, okay, I'm not really going to talk about the coronavirus. So if you're here to hear what coaching has to do with the coronavirus, nothing. So, that might not be for you. What I am going to talk about with you today is my morning that I spent with Gavin. Every 3 weeks, Gavin goes over and he gets his allergy shots. And I always take him at like 8 a.m. And he always, I'm sure his first hour teacher wants to kill me, but I get to connect with Gavin that way. And for those of you who have middle schoolers, you know how hard it is to find time to actually connect with them. So I get Gavin, me, in the car for an hour, driving to Fort Wayne and back. It usually involves Starbucks, and it's always a good thing for us. So today, Gavin asks me, because he has this thing, I laugh because Gavin is constantly checked out every book on drugs and addiction in the Indian Springs library. And I'm sure that the school thinks that he is like dealing or doing something horrible. But I've told you before that Gavin is my knowledge kid. So anything he can learn, he just eats it up. And I keep questioning him on this. I'm like, Gav, what's up with the books? What are we doing here? He's like, no, Mom, did you know this? And he starts going on and on about all these statistics. So today, Gavin asks me, as we're heading back to town, what all did you have to do to be able to do your job? Like, what classes did you have to take to be able to do your job? And I was like, well, Gav, I went to Purdue and I got a degree in education. And so to be a teacher, I had to go to college and get an education degree. And he's like, no, not that, the counseling part. And I'm like, well, I'm not a counselor. And he's like, you know what I mean. Yeah, okay, so I'm dragging him on. I'm not a counselor, I'm a coach. So I told him that I spent about a year, 9 months to a year. Sorry, I'm gonna let my dog out. 9 months to a year studying to be a health coach and a life coach. And he's like, okay, well, that's cool. What'd you have to do? I kind of explained it to him. And he asked me because he seriously wants to know, he wants to be a drug and alcohol counselor or to do coaching, which I think is totally awesome. And so I'm kind of giving him, he's like, well, what did you talk about? And I said, well, at my health coaching classes, we talked about blood sugar, and then we went into why he shouldn't eat so many ramen noodles, and we talked about stress and how stress weakens our immune system. So, okay, here's my quick coronavirus plug, if that's really what you want to hear about. The more you stress about it, the better the chance you're going to get sick, because stress kills your immune system, so stop it. We talked about sleep, which he needs a lot more of. We talked about water. We talked about all of those things. And we kind of rolled around to the life coaching portion, which really, for me, I focus a lot on teenagers and adults who are struggling with confidence and communication skills, and really getting their emotional intelligence up so that they can relate better to other people in conflict management. So I said, so Gav, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a Facebook Live, which is what I do on Thursdays, and I'm going to talk to people and ask, and I kind of give them information. So Gav says, well, what are you going to talk about today? And I said, well, I don't know. What do you think I should talk about today? I said, what's going on in the middle school? What do you think is the biggest deal for middle schoolers? And I always like this question, and I think it's one that you should ask your middle school and your high schooler. What is the biggest problem in the school? Like, what do you see your friends deal with? What do you deal with? So Gavin's answers, he had 4. And I said, what are the biggest problems with middle schoolers? Depression, anxiety, vaping, and drinking. Those were his 4 answers. And I said, really? And he's like, yeah, those are the 4 answers. He goes, maybe not so much drinking. He goes, some people do it, but mostly it's depression, anxiety, and vaping. And I'm like, all right. Well, I mean, that seems accurate. And then, of course, Gavin, being the knowledge kid that he is, tells me about the graph that he saw with the statistics of depression in middle schoolers from 2000 to 2020 and how the line used to go this way and then there was a big up. He's right. If you don't know this, depression and anxiety has I can't give you the exact statistics, but I'm sure that Gav could, has really risen in the last 20 years. So for me, when I go back in my life as a middle schooler, as someone who dealt with some really, really serious anxiety, and then in high school and college, I mean, we're talking way before the 2000s, unfortunately, anxiety and depression were huge for me. So when I see graphs that say statistically middle schoolers now are dealing with that much more anxiety and depression, it breaks my heart, because that's a scary statistics from somebody who knows what it was like over 20 years ago now, to know that that's what it was. So Gav goes on and says, yeah, it's depression and anxiety. And I was like, well, why? Why do you think, if you know all these statistics, why do you think that these middle schoolers are struggling with this depression and anxiety? Like, what's changed? And he goes, well, school. And I was like, well, Gav, school's always a thing. Like, it is what it is. And I said, well, what happens at school that makes that? And his answers really were drama and bullying and social media. And I'm like, all right, so what do we do about that? So I'm asking Gavin at this point. I want to know why though? Why with the drama and the bullying? Like, how is that making this depression and anxiety go up? And how, what are we doing here? So I'm asking him, come on, Gav, tell me what's up. How is drama and bullying and social media? So he starts telling me a little bit. He goes, well, not really so much me. He said, but I know that there's a lot of drama, and we all know, God, you guys know, middle school is nothing but drama. It has been since like whenever middle school was invented, junior high before that, it is drama, right? But if we take that drama and we intensify it with the fact that we are able to send it through our phone to everybody in the middle of class, on the bus home, and then we get home and it's still in our face. So let's say, for example, that we have a kid who's being bullied for some reason, okay? And the kid starts at school. The kid, whatever the reason is, the kid is bullied. And I can't even think of a good reason to bully someone, but it happens all the time. So pick one. Unfortunately, I feel like you guys as parents, you guys know why kids are bullied, right? It sucks. And when it happens to your kid or my kid, that whole mama bear instinct comes out, and it's like, you will die if you do this to my kid again. Like, I get it, right? So imagine where, back when we were kids, and this whole idea of, except for maybe you, Cole Jetmore, because you're way younger than the rest of us that are on right now, cell phones weren't a thing, and certainly, Cole, you didn't have Snapchat. So imagine, at least when you got to go home, you got to leave the bullying at school. Right? At least you could shut your phone off and you could go outside and shoot hoops or play video games or do something like that and get away from it for a while. These kids come home and it's like Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere, over and over. You can, they can go in and they can group, honest to God, there is group bullying where everybody gets together and they create a group and the whole group goes after the person at once. And they will get together and they will sabotage each other. And this literally happens to people. This has happened to a kid I know who happens to be in college now, where all through high school, a bunch of kids in his high school got together and created a group and planned out who would sabotage this kid at certain periods during the day. So, I've got first period with them, so I'll do this. And at lunch, you can do this. This is the kind of crap that our kids are dealing with right now. All right. This is the kind of stuff where when Gavin tells me the biggest problem in the middle school right now is depression and anxiety, and it's caused by drama and bullying and social media, this is the kind of crap our kids are up against. Okay. And this is where, I saw a quote this morning. I'm going to read it to you. It says, in the world of hashtags, algorithms, and followers, know the importance of human connections, because, I'm not going to sit here and it's real easy for me to sit here and look through my phone and type up something horrible to somebody and click it and turn off my phone and be like, well, that was nothing. And there's no connection. And you guys, we're just as guilty. And I'm going to call us all out right now, because it's real easy for us to make snide comments about someone's opinion on the president, mine included, or canceling events for the coronavirus, or how somebody parked their car. Things that we would never, ever, ever say to their face. Very few people would walk up to somebody and call them out. Although it is becoming more common, right? We see it all the time. People that are going after people for being different. This culture that we've created of people so mindlessly attacking people through their cell phones is killing our kids right now. All right. And the one thing that we can really, really do with this is start working on emotional intelligence. And that is really the one thing that I work on a lot. And one of the things when I go around and speak to groups, or if I am teaching in my classroom, or if I am coaching a group of teenagers or a group of adults, that is what we focus on. We really focus on getting to know ourselves, because the first step in emotional intelligence is, who am I? And what do I value? And how do I tick? And what do I do to make that better? Okay, and emotional intelligence is about not just how you feel, but it's about being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And you can't put yourself in someone else's shoes if you refuse to go any further than talking through a screen, right? So right now, this is an awesome way for me to be able to communicate this with you guys. But if I want to get deeper with somebody, I'm going to want to be one-on-one with them. And FaceTime can work one-on-one when we're having a conversation like this, especially with Zoom, where we're back and forth and say, okay, I see you, we're talking. That's still rather face-to-face as opposed to typing, right? If we text someone, that's a little different than I can see, someone's face and they can respond to me. That's still face-to-face conversation, even if they are in Japan and I'm in Indiana. If I were just to text everything to someone, that's different though. All right. But having human interaction, even picking up the phone and having a conversation with our voices, is so much more human interaction than this idea of snapping a picture of our shoe and typing something on top of it, or the wall that we're sitting next to. All right. It cuts off that idea of a person being an actual person with feelings. So one of the things I think we need to focus on with our middle schoolers every single day, based on the life of Gavin DeVito in a middle school in the middle of Columbia City, Indiana, is we got to teach these kids to connect. And we have to teach them to connect to kids that they don't like. Ouch. I mean, do you like connecting with people you don't like? And having face-to-face conversations with them, honestly? Because I don't. But you know what I do? I can say hi and be pleasant and step back. And this is the part that they're missing. They have no idea how to connect with people who they don't agree with and who they don't particularly connect with. But there's this level in there that we have to get back to. We have to create emotional intelligence. Something cool about emotional intelligence, emotional intelligence, is that unlike your IQ, you're born with your IQ, it's not going to change. It is what it is. You've got an IQ. Your EQ can change. Okay, so your EQ can go up. You can raise your emotional intelligence. Your IQ, this is it for you. All right. So I would really challenge you guys to start talking with your kids about how they feel and how they're connecting with other kids in your class. There's a kid in that class who is being bullied. How are you connecting with them? What are you doing? Good or bad, okay? And for us as adults, what are we doing to connect with our kids and let them know, this is, this is how I feel right now, and this is why, and having that conversation with them about, how are you going to deal with this? How are you going to go and talk to your teacher who maybe you're not getting along with? Because you're not going to go in there and demand something. That's not how it works. But I think we've gotten to the point where we're so disconnected and so polarized and so everything else. And it all goes back to raising this level of emotional intelligence. So for those of you guys who are just jumping on, this started because when I had my hour with Gavin on the way to and from the allergist this morning, I said, tell me what's up with the middle school. Tell me what the biggest problem at the middle school is. And his answer was depression, anxiety, vaping, drinking being the lowest. Depression being absolutely 100% the highest, depression and anxiety. All right. So in terms of social media, teach your kids how to use it. Use it yourself. We don't have to respond to everything, and we don't have to like facts to make them true, and we don't have to agree with everyone to make them right and us right. We're allowed to have different opinions, and we're allowed to voice our opinions and to be respectful of people who have different opinions than us. And sometimes we just have to learn to shut it. All right? That doesn't make them right. It doesn't make us right. It just means that we have to get back to this level of knowing how to communicate appropriately. We have to know how to challenge people appropriately by asking questions, right? So this is my challenge to you as parents, to be able to go out and talk with your kids about what's going on at school. Ask them how they're feeling. Ask them how they're dealing with things. Teach them how to respond. And if you guys don't know how to do that, I can help you with that, okay? I literally can help you with that. That is my job. So that's what I do as a coach. But I know that you guys have seen it before. I've had those 4 cards, the red, blue, yellow, green, action, blueprint, nurture, knowledge. If you guys haven't used that link to decode yourself yet, to crack your code, it's free, okay? And I don't harass you afterwards. I swear I don't. It's going to give you this really awesome PDF in your email inbox that's going to tell you what your emotional intelligence tends towards. What do you value? How do you communicate? How can you use that communication to be able to talk to other people and make decisions? But the cool part is that you can get on and you can do the same thing with your kid and get one on them, and then you know how they communicate. So when you're struggling to figure out what's the matter with your teenager, why are they acting depressed? Why are they anxious? What do you do when they're bullied? What do you do if they are the bully, guys? You can use that information to connect with them. Okay, so I've said a million times, Gavin's my knowledge kid. He starts drawing me air graphs and things like that while we talk about this. And before I thought he was all action and I couldn't figure out why we were fighting all the time. Guys, it is so huge because he can explain things to me better now because I get him. So when I understand him, I know how to communicate and he knows how to communicate with me. And that's what I really am challenging you guys to do today. So I hope that you guys will share this. I hope that you will take advantage of that link, and I'll post it again. I will keep posting it. Feel free to share it with your friends because I think it's such important information. Decode your teenager, decode yourself, decode your spouse, right? Or your coworkers. Because I'm getting ready to go talk to a group in Fort Wayne and a group here in Columbia City, and we're talking about conflict management at the workplace and how to increase your sales with this system, which is crazy because really all I'm trying to do is sell to my kids at school and sell to my own kids. If I sold something else like cars or something else, I would use it to sell that, right? What I'm encouraging you to do is to find a way to sell what you need your kids to know on emotional intelligence. And that's really about being able to connect with them. On the other hand, if you do want to learn how to use it to sell knives or essential oils or whatever, I can teach you about that too, okay? That's a different thing. So that is available to you if you don't know how to connect with your kids, if you don't know how to teach them emotional intelligence and how to get to know themselves, because again, it starts with us knowing ourselves. If you don't know how to do that, I have a group coaching session that starts April 16th. It's 8 weeks. It is going to be via Zoom, so it'll be like I see them through the phone, they see me through the phone. If you'd rather do it at your church, and you have a group of 4 or 5 kids or 8 kids that want to get together, it's $300 a kid for the whole 8 weeks. They get tons of resources. They get to know their code. They get to know how they communicate with their friends, and maybe that they're real. If I'm talking to my friend or my teacher and they've got a different code than me, yikes, I need to change how I'm talking, okay? Emotional intelligence. So that starts in April. Registration is open for that. If you know anybody that could benefit, please share it with them. So thank you guys so much for listening to me today. Thank you for sharing this and for really being the awesome parents that you are. So if you have any questions, please feel free. You can message me. You can ask them underneath the video. And I hope everybody has a fantastic and healthy Thursday. All right. I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.